All right, let's start again. Good morning, everyone. It's now 9:03, and I'm Vern Tepe. I call to order the Public Service Committee meeting of Thursday, October 21, 2021. Can we have a roll call, please?
Kobe,
Opie's present.
Online, yeah.
Brown here.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Lewis,
Lewis here.
Shepro, Tepe,
Tepe here.
you have a quorum.
Great.
Sturgis here.
Sorry, sir.
Sturgis is there, yes. May I have a motion for the approval of minutes?
Leonard moves.
Brown will second.
Any questions or comments? Did I hear something? I guess not. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Shepro, Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Kobe,
Copy, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
passes.
And I do not believe we have any public comments.
I'll go search the halls.
Mr. Kenyon is our sergeant at arms today, I think. That's where we go. All right, finance. Finance report. Okay. It's online in our reports. Next, recorder.
Good morning, everyone. David Schultz from the Recorder's Office, bringing the report over to you. As you can see from the report, we are still staying very busy. In fact, in about 10 days, we should exceed the total number of documents we had for last year. So we're still staying at a very, very good pace. Had a lot of corporate sales this last month too, so that's why a lot of the revenue appears to be up. The transfer tax, when businesses sell for $17 million, it puts a big jump in the amounts there. So if you see something, wonder how come the houses are still selling good, but the corporate are up too. So
Are all the prices up?
yeah, they are. They're still going strong.
Nice. I think that's good. Any questions, comments? Okay, our treasurer. There we go. Good morning.
Good morning. The actual report is on file, but I do have some additional items to note for you. As you are probably aware, the elevator in this building is being repaired we've been told starting next Monday. Our office has made arrangements with the sheriff's office, who is guarding the front door, to make sure that if we have a customer come in who cannot make the stairs, we will come down to them and conduct business as best we can. Because obviously there are some that are not going to be either able or comfortable to make that loop around and up and over. So I've spoke to Sheriff Hain and made sure that he communicates to the people working up front that if there's any question or concern, we'll conduct the business, it'll get done. There's only one elevator, it's got to be updated, so we'll work through it. Our office has been busy over the last month dealing with the tax sale, which is upcoming November 1st. We currently have 2,618 unpaid parcels. It's approximately $10 million in taxes. So our tax sale is November 1st. This is the second year that we'll be using an electronic service in which the sale of the property is done electronically. Unlike, I guess, where you may have seen in the past where the treasurer would actually auction off the property. That's not done, in second year in a row we're using this process. And it is the first year under a new state law that limits buyers. In the past, apparently you had buyers, you could have multiple buyers working for one agency. There's a new state law that limits that. Last year we had over 100 buyers. This year I think we have 36 or 38 registered. So tax sale on the 1st, that's our big item.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Thank you.
Copy, please,
Very much. Oh, Mr. Copey, yes.
please. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious, I've asked this question on several occasions. Is there a possibility we could create a pie chart on exactly what fraction of the properties is committed to what portion of the taxes? Is that a possibility? In other words, for example, I would like to know how many actual single-family homes are paying taxes and what portion of the tax is that? Is that a possibility?
Well, I've had that question asked before, and I've worked with Mr. Armstrong in reference to that. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but the properties are not necessarily designated or identified as such, correct?
That's correct. The classification that would most line up with single family would be class 40. The class 40 is 1 through 6 family residential properties. Now, that's going to get us most of the way there, but it won't get us all the way there because we just simply don't maintain the information at the county level to that level of specificity. But if that's something you want, is how many class 40s make that up, that's a pretty easy calculation. I'd be happy to provide it with you. If you could send me an email telling me what years you would like to see that for, I can give you that information.
Are you okay with that,
All right.
Mr. Copey?
Well, I guess I have to be. If I could just get something crude, I don't care how crude it is. As long as we have some type of an idea of.
This would be a very good picture. It'd be very close. It just wouldn't be precise.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Sturgis here.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Mark, is
Burgess?
there any way that we can make that more precise for the future? Is that a big deal to do, to add the field into the computations, or?
For the question is, can we break down class 40 further than that? The technical answer is yes, but it would require me to obtain all that information from the township assessors. And I don't know how they code it or if they code it consistently among the 16 townships. And then I would have to figure out we'd have to figure out a way to add that to DevNet, which would mean we would have to pay DevNet to alter their product to add a different field that we would be using only for this question. If that's something the county board would like to afford, I can see if I can get a price on that.
I think that would be worth the effort. If it's $1,000, it's one thing. If it's $500,000, that's another thing. You know what I mean?
I'm guessing it'll be more than 1,000, but I'm certain it'll be less than 500.
There you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Well, while you're speaking, let's go on to our supervisor of assessments. I see you are on the road.
I am on the road, and I thank you for indulging me with this way this morning. And I appreciate the expressions of sympathy that several of you have reached out and provided. My report is on page 26, or it begins on 26 of the packet. And you can see on the first 2 pages, we have an analysis of the assessment complaints that have been filed for the 2021 payable 2022 year. The numbers are broken down by township, and it shows a quadrennial change. We are the general assessment period that we're currently in started in 2019, and it runs through 2022. So we're in the 3rd year of that period. So a very reasonable measure would be, where was it 4 years ago in 2017, and what has happened since then? And that's what this chart shows, both by township and in a total number. You can see that in 2021, the total number of assessment complaint dockets. A docket is when a single taxpayer with a grouping of parcels together has filed. They may include more than one parcel number. A good example would be if a parcel has 2 different tax codes, meaning that they have a border between a taxing district that runs through the property. They have to be broken into multiple parcels for that. So the number of complaint dockets dropped to 824. That's a 33% decline from 1 year ago, but a 40% decline over the quadrennial period. For individual parcels, in other words, each individual tax parcel, the number dropped to 1,162. That's a 36% decline from a year ago and a 59% decline over the quadrennial period. Now, a good question here is, why has that drop taken place? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that the market, recorder's office has noted, is still going very strong, and we're seeing some significant increases in property values, but that is not translated into a significant increase in real estate assessments. Countywide, we are up generally 2 to 3%. Why is that number lower? Well, the property tax code by design uses a 3-year average of the median level of assessments for calculation purposes. The reason for that is to not provide wild swings. So if we have a significant uptick in 1 year and then a downward movement in another year, we don't see assessments moving all over the place at the same time. It provides for a more stable transition. So that's one reason why we would see one, because people get their assessment notices. They know the market is hot. They may have a very good idea of what their property values are. They see that the number on there is below that and decide that's probably not something I want to challenge. The second thing, though, is I want to direct your attention to the chart on page 28. And this shows you historically, since 2000, the number of complaint parcels and the overall number of parcels that were complaints were filed and the complaint rate. And you can see in 2000, we had a complaint rate of 0.26%. And it generally hovered around that. It ticked up a bit in 2004 through 2006. But then there was a significant jump in 2007. Now, that jump had two sources. One source was the exact change I'm describing. That's when property values started to decline. And of course, with even in rapid decline, they won't decline as fast as in assessments as the values will decline in real time, just as they won't increase as fast. It's for that same reason, that 3-year average of the median level of assessments that's used by statute. The other thing that happened in 2007, that was my first full year in office, was I put the forms online. Prior to that, our assessment complaint forms were 4-part carbonless NCR forms you had to stop in the office and pick up. So making them online made them easily more available. And you can see our complaint rate increased to 0.85%. And then in 2011, which was the height of the financial crisis, the bottom of the real estate market, we reached a 2.86% complaint rate. And it's been dropping since then. You can see if you go to 2021, we are now at 0.59%. Just a little over 0.5% of the parcels actually reach filings. So part of the decline has been the change in the real estate market. But the other thing I would observe is the public confidence in the assessment process itself. And we can see that in the spring elections this year for township assessor. We had 16 elections. There was only one contested election, and that was for an open seat where the incumbent assessor was retiring out in Hampshire Township. But more than that, we can see it in the accuracy of the assessments as measured by the Illinois Department of Revenue. There are two measures that are really significant. One is coefficient of dispersion, which measures how closely assessments are to the median level of assessments. The other is price-related differential, and that measures whether there is a bias in assessments either in favor of low-price properties or in favor of higher-price properties. Kane County's coefficient of dispersion was 11.78%. That is number 2 out of 102 counties, the second best in the state. Our price-related differential is 0.99. 1 is a perfect balance. And according to the International Association of Assessing Officers, anything from 0.98 to 1.03 is an acceptable range. Ours is 0.99. Again, second in the state. By the way, if you're wondering who's first in the state, the best coefficient of dispersion can be found in Kendall County. We're number 2. The best price related differential can be found in McHenry County. And we are, again, number 2 with that. But that is an absolutely outstanding job being done by our township assessors, and they deserve a lot of the credit. On page 29, you can see the end of the report. I noticed that Board of Review hearings have started. Those are now scheduled through the end of December. We are on track to finish well ahead of the March 15th deadline for turning these over to the county clerk for tax extension, which should give us plenty of time to do data validation as we like to do in our best practice and maintain public confidence in this system. The rest of my report is in writing. I'd be happy to answer any questions any members of the committee have.
Thank you. I want to echo your reports on how excellent a job the townships do. I know that in Elgin Township, where I live, whenever I refer somebody over to the assessor's office, they're just treated extremely well. And I'm really glad to see that happen. Okay, any questions for Mark? Online. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can get back to your trip.
Thank you.
Next, education. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. We passed out our annual report last session, and so if anybody did have any questions after they read it, page to page and from the beginning to the end with every word, I'm sure, I'd be happy to answer any.
It was very well done, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. We hope that it's makes sense to people and not just to us. So we are also in the middle of our photography contest for high school students throughout the county. We have about 12 on average that participate each week. December 8th, if you want to save the date, that evening we will be having a reception where we would display the winners of the photography contest, and it will be at the Batavia Fine Arts Center. Much of our time these days continues to be spent in managing the pandemic in schools. And we continue to meet weekly with the superintendents, the health department, and ourselves. We spend a lot of time talking about the best way for case management. IDPH just changed outbreak. So now an outbreak instead of 2 is 3. Our biggest issue is close contacts, when we have to exclude students because they were within a certain space for a certain amount of time. That's when we end up having to shut down classrooms because we don't have enough students within the classroom to continue. We continue to deal with a severe school bus shortage, drivers. They also fall under the governor's order and have to be either vaccinated or tested once a week. And that has become an issue for some of them. So we started the year with a shortage, and that shortage is only growing. Teachers, we have a severe teacher shortage. That's been compounded by the pandemic as well. However, we had that as well going in. So if you're student teaching and you're doing a good job in a district right now, you're going to be hired. You're going to stay. So the job market is looking good for you coming out now. Just a few years ago, kids would come out from college and they wouldn't be able to find a job. That's not the case anymore. In fact, for our office right now, we are down an English teacher out at the JJC. So we're looking high and low to try to find an English teacher to fill that position out there. So those are some of the things that we're working on. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all heard about the impact of the driver shortage virtually around the country on school
Mhm.
bus drivers. How are the districts dealing with it? How challenged are they? Have they had to cut off routes? Have they had to?
Sometimes they have to consolidate routes. Bottom line, what it means is that kids are on the bus for longer periods of time. So that's what it means. They're getting them to school, they're getting them home again, but they're spending more of their day riding the bus.
And do you have, don't want to put you on the spot necessarily, but are we talking about 50, 100, 200 people short? What, do you have any idea what the number might be? Yeah,
Yeah, it depends on if they get quarantined or if they're,
yeah.
they're having an issue with the vaccine or with being tested.
I'm sorry,
And-
didn't mean to throw a question at you.
No, that's okay. And I don't mean not to answer your question
Oh, I understand that,
specifically.
yes.
It's just that it's difficult to put a number on it.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yes, just
Leonard.
one. Mr. Sanchez, with respect to the different school districts that you oversee, with respect to quarantining children when they are exposed, is that an individual school district decision or is it?
No, and they're not quarantined unless the school district cannot quarantine. So the governor's order back in August clarified that. And there was a huge misunderstanding about what terminology, and terminology is everything.
Yes.
So only the health department can quarantine. The school district cannot quarantine. However, based on the health department's recommendations, they can exclude. So they are excluding based upon the health department recommendations.
The school districts are
Mhm.
excluding?
Mhm.
So each school district can exclude or include?
No, they have to follow the health department's recommendation,
is
and
the
they're
quar-
the same across the board.
And what is the quarantine period then through the health department for? children?
Okay, and again, it depends.
Okay.
There are some districts that are doing what's called test to stay. So if you are excluded and and you have participated, you have to test to stay as a program where you are tested on days 1, 3, 5, and 7. If you have been determined to be a close contact and you want to stay in school. Not every family participates in test to stay. That's a voluntary program. So if you are participating in test to stay and you're identified as a close contact, you are not excluded. You are left in school and you are tested on days 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I know it's kind of complicated.
It's very complicated.
Thank you.
Lewis online, can I have a question?
Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just this morning, I was reading in my Kane County Connect about this Safe to Help Illinois.
Mhm.
Okay. Are our schools participating or going to participate in that? Sounds like it's a really good resource.
Yes, it is. It's a very good resource. We've been talking about it with all 9 districts for a while now, and they're all in the process.
Okay, awesome. Can you just let us know when they're all involved?
Sure.
Okay, because I think it's really important. I mean, it looks like a great resource, and I know the mental health aspect and any help we can get from anywhere is great. So I just want to make sure that they're all participating. Thank you.
Sure. No problem.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, our county clerk. Oh, there you are over there. Mr. Pollock.
Good morning, everyone. You have a copy of our report. A couple things to highlight. As everything's opened up a bit, our passport, the number of passports that we've assisted in processing, that number is actually at this point is higher now than it was all of last year. We're using a calendar year for some of these numbers rather than a budget year. Same with marriage licenses. So things have gotten back, or getting back to normal, and we're ahead of last year's pace. Same with on the financial side, we're about 1.34 million. So we're ahead of last year, and we're ahead of where our projections were in terms of revenue. Just one thing to point out is you get into board members get into budget season. If you look down towards the bottom, that about 6 lines from the bottom where it says general fund, we have collected and returned about a little over 1 million to the general fund from our office in terms of revenue. So it goes both ways. You know, we understand the board sets the budget, and we also give back. So if any questions regarding our report, I'll keep it short. We've had a lot to talk about over the last few months.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Question, Kopi?
Yes, sir, Mr. Copey.
Hi. Question pertains to, well, actually, it's more of a discussion. I've been reading these articles about the election integrity, and it turns out that it's all over the board. But there is one thing that is constant: that there are some severe anomalies, even though the actual count is going up and down on both sides of the aisle. And but that would only pertain to somebody that's interested in the stolen election narrative, which I am not. But what I am interested in is restoring some election integrity, if it's a possibility, or if we have, even if King County has any issues like what they're discovering. And I would like to continue that discussion, not today, not tomorrow, but I just don't want it to be ignored. There are some people have come forward with some very, very strong positions, remarks, comments, and I'm trying desperately to sort through it. And what I come to understand with having some not only political discussion but philosophical discussion with one of my colleagues in particular, and that is there's a one fraction of the argument wants to attach their cause to the other objective, which is election integrity. And I had a hard time separating them. So, but now it's finally dawned on me that it is two issues, and one doesn't want to divorce from the other. And as a committee, as a statesman for the people, I will do my best to segregate the two arguments. And if we could just consider some election integrity reform on a few instances, I'd love to have that conversation. I hope you keep an open mind. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have any other business? And I'm sure we're all anxious to go into executive session. No reason for executive session. May I have a motion to place reports on file?
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Lewis second.
Lewis seconds. May we have a roll call, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Shepro, Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Copey,
Copey, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
passes.
Okay. And in honor of Mr. Kenyon being here, we'll ask Mr. Leonard to put forward a motion to adjourn.
Leonard moves to adjourn.
Brown will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.